Okay, so we ran into a little bit of an issue trying to factor this one because it turns out that there aren't any numbers that multiply to equal 54 and add to equal negative 16. So what we have to do instead is something called the quadratic formula, and that works every single time, even when our problems won't factor. So the quadratic formula looks like this. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and you might have learned a song that goes with it too. But what we mean by a, b, and c are the coefficients that are in front of your first term, your second term, and your third term. So in this problem right here, a would be 1, b is negative 16, and c is positive 54. So what we can do is fill in a, b, and c in our formula right here. So x is going to equal the opposite of b. Well, right now b is negative 16, so the opposite of b is going to be positive 16. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 16 squared is 256, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 54, all over 2 times 1, which is 2 times a. Okay, so if we keep simplifying, we have 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 minus whatever 54 times 4 is. Well, we can probably do that in our heads. To do 54 times 4, you just need to do 50 times 4 plus 4 times 4. So 50 times 4 is 200, and 4 times 4 is 16. So we get 216. All right, all over 2, just like that. All right, so now that we've got our quadratic formula set up, we can simplify what's underneath our radical. So we get 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 minus 216 is going to be 40. And now all we have to do is simplify our radical. And what you want to do is ask yourself, what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 40? So by perfect squares, I mean 4, 16, 25, 36, 49, 100, numbers where when you multiply a number by itself, you get that number. So like 7 times 7 is 49, 8 times 8 is 64, 9 times 9 is 81. All of those numbers are perfect squares. So the biggest perfect square that goes into 40 is 4. So this can be broken down into 4 and 10, both under square roots. So the square root of 40 is the same thing as the square root of 4 times the square root of 10. And we're still all over 2. All right, now we can simplify the square root of 4 to be 2. The square root of 10 doesn't simplify. So we have 16 plus or minus 2 square root of 10 all over 2. Sorry that I'm running out of space here. And then the last thing you can do is divide each term by 2. Now keep in mind that 2 square root of 10 is one single term. So when we divide 2 square root of 10 by 2, it's just going to become the square root of 10. Please don't divide what's underneath the radical by 2, because this is not 10, it's the square root of 10, which is a nasty, nasty number. Okay, so not 10. So our final answer is going to be 16 divided by 2 is 8. 2 square root of 10 divided by 2 is just the square root of 10. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. You don't really need to put the 1 on the bottom if you don't want to, so your final answer is 8 plus or minus the square root of 10.